The Grand Assembly Hall was the largest room had ever seen. It stretched so far that he could barely see the other end. Thousands of beings from hundreds of different worlds filled the space. Some had blue skin. Some had 4 arms. Some floated in the air. Some had faces that could not understand at all. He was not supposed to be here. Was just a maintenance worker. He fixed broken pipes and cleaned air filters on the Galactic Unity Station. He was nobody important. But today, the station needed more humans to fill seats at the diplomatic banquet. Empty chairs were considered rude, so they pulled workers from every department and gave them clean clothes. Just sit, eat, and don't talk too much, his supervisor had told him. Simple job. Walked through the crowd slowly. He felt very small. Everyone around him wore beautiful clothes made of materials he had never seen. Their jewelry sparkled with lights from distant stars. And here he was, a 28-year-old man from a small town in Korea, wearing a borrowed suit that did not fit quite right. He found his assigned table and sat down. The food was strange. Some of it moved on the plate. He decided not to eat that part. As he looked around the hall, his eyes stopped on something unusual. There was a long table near the center of the room. It was clearly important. The beings sitting there had silver skin that seemed to glow softly. Their faces were perfectly shaped like sculptures. Their eyes shone like small moons. Had heard of them. One of the oldest and most powerful species in the galaxy. But something was wrong at their table. One seat was empty. No, that was not quite right. The seat was not empty. Someone was sitting in it. But the seats on both sides of her were empty, and the seats across from her were empty too. It was like there was an invisible wall around her. She was a young woman. Her silver skin was the same as the others. Her hair was long and white like fresh snow. She wore a dress that sparkled with tiny lights. She was beautiful. But notice something. On her left cheek there was a faint line, a scar. It was so small that most people would not see it, and her left eye was slightly less bright than her right eye, just a little bit dimmer. That was it. That was why everyone avoided her. Felt something twist in his chest. He watched as servants walked past her quickly, as if she was not there. He watched as others turned their backs to her. He watched as delegates from other species looked at her, and then looked away with something like disgust on their faces. The young woman sat perfectly still. Her back was straight. Her hands were folded on the table. Her face showed nothing, but saw her fingers. Under the table they were shaking. "Excuse me," a voice interrupted his thoughts. Looked up. A station official stood beside him, looking stressed. "We have a problem," the official said quietly. "The seating near the princess is empty. This is causing diplomatic concern. An empty seat next to royalty is a serious insult. We need someone to fill it." "Then fill it," said. The official sighed. "No one will volunteer. They have made it clear that princess is not to be treated as normal royalty. Anyone who sits with her will be seen as foolish. Other species are following their lead. No one wants to offend the by showing her respect." Stared at the official. "So you want someone to sit next to her, but also you are telling me she is treated like she is nothing." "It is complicated politics," the official said. "Look, I am asking everyone. If you are not interested, I understand." The official started to walk away. "Wait," said. He did not know why he said it. Maybe it was because he remembered being a child in school, sitting alone at lunch because his family was poor. Maybe it was because he remembered how it felt when people looked through him like he was not there. Maybe it was because the sight of her shaking fingers made his heart hurt. "I will do it," he said. The official looked surprised, then relieved. "Really? Thank you. Just be respectful. Do not cause any problems." Stood up from his table, he walked across the great hall. With every step he felt more eyes on him. Whispers followed him like shadows. He heard words he did not understand, but he understood the tone. Confusion, judgment, some laughter. He reached the table. The princess did not look up. She probably expected him to walk past her like everyone else. Pulled out the chair next to her and sat down. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then slowly she turned her head to look at him. Her eyes were the most beautiful eyes had ever seen. They were like silver pools filled with starlight, but they were also filled with something else. Fear, confusion, and underneath all of that, a tiny spark of hope that she was trying very hard to hide. "Hope you don't mind some company," said. He smiled at her. She stared at him. Her perfect composure cracked just a little. Her lips parted slightly. "You," her voice was soft and musical, like wind through silver bells. "You are sitting next to me." "Yes," said. "Is that okay?" "Do you know who I am?" "I know you are a princess." "Do you know what I am?" Looked at her scar. He looked at her dimmer eye. Then he looked back at her face. "You are a person sitting alone at a party," he said. "That seems sad. No one should be alone at a party." She continued to stare at him. Around them could hear the whispers growing louder. He saw others looking at them with shock and anger. He saw the young woman's brother, a tall, cold-faced man with perfect features, glaring at him with eyes full of ice. But did not care. "My name is," he said. "What is yours?" The princess was quiet for so long that thought she would not answer. Then, in a voice barely louder than a whisper, she spoke. "Lyra, my name is Lyra." "It is nice to meet you, Lyra." Her hand stopped shaking. That night in the great hall of the Galactic Unity Station, surrounded by thousands of powerful beings from across the stars, a simple human maintenance worker did something that no one else was willing to do. He treated a broken princess like she was worth something. And for the first time in many years, Princess Lyra did not feel completely alone. The banquet continued around them. Servants brought plates of strange foods. Music played from instruments could not name. Important beings made important speeches about peace and cooperation. But at the table, in the small space around and Lyra, time seemed to move differently. Lyra did not know what to do. For 26 years she had lived in silence. She had learned to be invisible. She had learned to expect nothing from others. And now this strange human was sitting beside her, smiling, acting like this was normal. It was not normal. Nothing about this was normal. "So," said, picking up something from his plate and looking at it with confusion, "what is this? Is it safe to eat?" Lyra looked at the item in his hand. "It is a crystal fruit from the. It is considered a great delicacy. It looks like a rock. It will melt on your tongue. The taste is sweet like honey but also cold." Put it in his mouth. His eyes went wide. "Oh, that is strange, but good strange." Lyra watched him. She could not understand this man. Did he not know what he was doing? Did he not see the angry looks from her family? Did he not hear the whispers? "Why are you here?" she asked suddenly. Looked at her. "They needed someone to fill the seat. I volunteered." "But why? You must know that sitting with me brings no benefit. My family will not thank you. Other species will think you are foolish. You gain nothing from this." Was quiet for a moment, then he shrugged. "Not everything has to be about gaining something." Lyra did not understand. In her world, everything was about gaining something. Power, status, perfection. Every action had a purpose. Every word was calculated. "You are very strange," she said. "I have been told that before," smiled. "My friend says I think too simply. Maybe she is right." They ate in silence for a while. Lyra found herself stealing glances at him. He was not handsome by standards. His skin was a warm brown, not silver. His features were soft, not sharp. His eyes were dark and small compared to hers, but there was something in his face, a kindness, a warmth, something she had never seen in the perfect faces of her people. "Can I ask you something?" said. Lyra tensed. Here it comes, she thought, the questions about her defect, the curiosity about what was wrong with her. "What is your favorite food?" asked. Lyra blinked. "What? Favorite food? What do you like to eat? When you can choose anything, what do you pick?" No one had ever asked her that, not once in her entire life. She had been asked about her duties, her failures, her shame, but never about something so simple as her favorite food. I do not know," she admitted. "You do not know your own favorite food." "I eat what I am given. I do not choose." Frowned. "That is sad. Everyone should have a favorite food. Mine is my mother's kimchi stew. She makes it spicy with lots of tofu. When I was young and sad, she would make it for me. It always made me feel better." Lyra listened to him talk about his mother, his home, his simple life on Earth. It was like hearing stories from another universe, a universe where people were allowed to be sad, where mothers made food to comfort their children, where imperfection was not a death sentence. As he talked, memories rose in Lyra's mind like ghosts. She remembered the day she was born. Of course, she did not actually remember it, she was a baby. But she had been told the story many times. Her mother had screamed when she saw Lyra's face, not from the pain of birth but from horror. The scar was there from the beginning, a thin line across her cheek, and her left eye had flickered weakly, its light dim. Defective, the doctors had said, impure. In culture, physical perfection was everything. They believed that the body reflected the soul. A perfect body meant a perfect spirit. A flawed body meant a flawed spirit. Corruption, weakness, evil. Lyra was a princess born broken, a stain on the royal bloodline. Her mother had refused to look at her for years. Her father pretended she did not exist. Her brother had told her, again and again, that she was lucky to be alive. In ancient times, defective children were sent to die in the cold, he would say. You should be grateful that we are civilized now. She grew up in the shadows of the palace. She was not allowed at public events. She was not introduced to visitors. She ate alone. She studied alone. She existed, but she did not live. And now, here was this human, asking about her favorite food like she was a normal person. "Do you like music?" asked next. "I have not listened to much music." "What? How is that possible? Music is one of the best things in the universe." He thought for a moment. "When this banquet is over, I can show you some earth music if you want. We have so many kinds. Slow songs, fast songs, happy songs, sad songs." "Why would anyone want to listen to sad songs?" Lyra asked. Smiled gently. "Because sometimes when you are sad, it helps to know that other people have been sad too. It makes you feel less alone." Lyra felt something crack inside her chest, a wall she had built long ago, a wall that kept her safe but also kept her empty. "You are very strange," she said again, but this time her voice was softer. Around them the banquet continued. Delegates laughed and talked, deals were made, alliances were formed. The great machine of galactic politics turned and turned. But at their small corner of the table, something else was happening. Something small but important. A connection was forming. When the banquet finally ended, Lyra stood to leave. Protocol required her to return to her quarters immediately. She was not allowed to talk with others after events. She was not allowed to make connections. But before she left, she turned back to. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for sitting with me." Stood and gave her a small bow. "Thank you for the company. It was nice talking to you, Lyra." She heard her name in his voice, not the defective one, not the impure princess, just Lyra, just her name spoken like it was worth something. She walked away before he could see the tears forming in her eyes. That night in her cold and empty quarters aboard the flagship, Princess Lyra lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. She touched the scar on her cheek, the mark that had defined her entire existence. For the first time, she wondered if maybe, just maybe, it did not have to define her forever. For the first time in many years, she did not feel completely worthless. Because somewhere on this station, there was a strange human man who had smiled at her, who had asked about her favorite food, who had treated her like she was real. And that small thing, that tiny act of kindness, had planted a seed in her heart. A seed called hope. News traveled fast on the Galactic Unity station. By the next morning, everyone knew what had happened. A human maintenance worker had sat with the defective princess. The story spread through corridors and conference rooms. Some laughed at it. Some were confused by it. Some were angry about it. Found out just how angry when he was stopped in a hallway on his way to work. Prince stood before him. The prince was tall, much taller than. His silver skin glowed with perfect light. His features were sharp like a blade. His eyes were cold like deep space. Behind him stood two guards, their faces blank and dangerous. "You are the human," said. His voice was smooth but hard underneath. "The one who sat with my sister." Stopped walking, he looked up at the prince calmly. "Yes, that was me." "Do you understand what you did?" "I sat in a chair and talked to a nice lady. I do not see the problem." His perfect face twisted slightly. The expression was gone so quickly that almost missed it, but he had seen it. Disgust, pure disgust. "My sister is not meant to be acknowledged," said slowly, as if explaining to a child. "She is a mistake, a flaw in our bloodline. By sitting with her, you have shown her respect. This is not acceptable." Felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. "Where I come from, we do not throw people away because of a scar. Your world is primitive. You do not understand the meaning of perfection." "Maybe not," shrugged, "but I understand the meaning of kindness, and I understand that your sister was alone. Nobody deserves to be alone." Stepped closer. He was so close now that could feel the cold coming off his silver skin. "Stay away from her," said quietly. "This is not a request. This is a warning. If you speak to her again, there will be consequences." Did not step back. "I hear your warning. And I will think about it." For a long moment the two men stared at each other, then turned and walked away, his guards following silently. Let out a breath he did not know he was holding. Later that day, he told his friend about the encounter. They sat in the maintenance break room, drinking coffee substitute from paper cups. Said, shaking her head, "What are you doing? These are powerful aliens. You are just a pipe fixer." "I know." "Then why are you getting involved?" Looked into his cup. "I do not know, I saw her sitting there, alone, shaking, and I thought about how that must feel, to be treated like you are nothing, to be invisible to everyone around you. It made me angry." Sighed, "You have a good heart, but a good heart can get you killed out here." "Maybe, but I would rather have a good heart than a safe one." 3 days passed. Went back to his normal work. He fixed broken machines. He cleaned filters. He ate bad cafeteria food and talked with and tried not to think about silver skin and sad eyes. Then on the 4th day she appeared. Was in his workshop, repairing a water recycler when the door opened. He looked up and saw Princess Lyra standing there. She was wearing simple clothes, not the grand dress from the banquet. Her white hair was tied back. Her face was uncertain. She looked nervous. "Princess," said, putting down his tools, "what are you doing here?" Lyra stepped into the workshop slowly. Her eyes moved around the room, looking at the machines and parts and tools covering every surface. "I told my guards I wanted to inspect human technology," she said. "It is within my rights as a princess to observe the work of other species." And they believed that. They do not care enough about me to question it. There was bitterness in her voice. Wiped his hands on a cloth and pulled up a second chair. "Please sit. It is not comfortable, but it is clean." Lyra sat down carefully. She looked at the machine had been working on. "What is this?" "A water recycler. It takes dirty water and makes it clean again. Very important on a space station." "It looks complex." "It is a little, but the basic idea is simple. Water goes in dirty, goes through some filters and processes, comes out clean. Lyra watched as he worked, explained what he was doing as he did it. He showed her the broken parts and the new parts. He talked about how machines worked, how things broke, and how they could be fixed. Everything breaks eventually, he said, connecting two wires together. Nothing is perfect forever. The key is not to avoid breaking, that is impossible. The key is to know how to repair. Lyra was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, can everything be repaired? Most things. Some things are too broken, but you would be surprised how much can be saved. She touched the scar on her cheek, pretended not to notice. My people believe that perfection is the only thing that matters, Lyra said softly. If something is broken, it has no value. It should be thrown away. That seems wasteful. It is how we have lived for thousands of years. Finished his repair and turned to face her fully. Can I tell you something honest? Lyra nodded. I have met many species in my time on this station. I have seen beings that are faster, stronger, smarter, and more beautiful than any human. But I have also noticed something. The species that survive the longest are not the most perfect ones. They are the ones that can adapt, the ones that can change, the ones that can accept that sometimes things go wrong and that is okay. Lyra stared at him with her silver eyes. You think my people are wrong. I think your people are afraid. Perfection is a way to control things. If everything must be perfect, then nothing can surprise you, nothing can hurt you, but it also means nothing can grow. She did not respond, but could see her thinking. He could see something shifting behind her eyes. From that day on, Lyra visited its workshop regularly, always with the excuse of inspection, always alone, without her guards watching. They talked about many things, told her about Earth, about oceans and mountains and cities full of imperfect people. Lyra told him about her, about crystal palaces and frozen moons, and a society built on the fear of flaws. Slowly, carefully, a friendship formed. Supervisor noticed the visits. He warned in private, be careful, alien politics are dangerous, you are playing with fire. I know, said. You could lose your job, or worse. I know. Sighed, then why? Thought about it, because she needs a friend, and I think maybe I need one too. 2 weeks after the banquet, Lyra visited its workshop again. This time, she brought something with her. I tried something, she said, looking almost shy. You talked about favorite foods. I asked the kitchen to make me something different, something I chose myself. She held out a small container. Inside was a simple dish, some kind of grain with sweet fruit mixed in. It is probably not very good, she said quickly. I do not know much about food, but I wanted to try choosing something for myself. Smiled widely. That is great, that is really great, Lyra. She smiled back. It was small, it was uncertain, but it was real. And in that small workshop, surrounded by broken machines waiting to be fixed, two imperfect people from different worlds took another step towards something neither of them fully understood. Something that felt dangerously close to hope. The invitation arrived on a silver plate, delivered by a servant who refused to look in the eyes. The message was written in flowing script on paper that shimmered like moonlight. You are invited to the ceremony of ancestors, hosted by the royal family. Knew immediately that this was a trap. Prince wanted him there, wanted to humiliate him, wanted to show everyone what happened when a primitive human forgot his place. Should have thrown the invitation away. He should have stayed in his quarters and pretended he never received it. But he thought of Lyra. She would be there, alone, surrounded by people who hated her simply for existing. He put on his best clothes and went. The ceremony was held on the flagship, a massive ship that looked like it was carved from a single piece of crystal. Inside, everything was white and silver. The walls glowed softly. The air smelled like winter. Hundreds filled the main hall. They wore robes of flowing silver cloth. Their perfect faces showed no emotion. They moved like water, smooth and graceful. Felt like a stain on a white canvas. He found a place near the back of the hall and watched as the ceremony began. Priests chanted in their ancient language. Crystals were lit with cold fire. Important figures walked forward to receive blessings from the High Matron, an ancient woman whose silver skin had faded to pale gray. The High Matron Vila, Lyra's grandmother, the true ruler of the empire, watched as each royal family member stepped forward. Prince received his blessing with cold pride. Other cousins and relatives followed. Each one was greeted with respect and honor. Then it was Lyra's turn. She had been standing at the very back behind the servants. When her name should have been called, there was only silence. The High Matron looked past her. The priests looked past her. Everyone looked past her. They skipped her. Watched Lyra's face. She did not cry. She did not shake. She simply stood there, invisible, as the ceremony continued without her. Something inside broke. He had seen cruelty before. He had experienced it himself, growing up poor in a world that valued money. But this was different. This was cold. This was organized. This was an entire culture designed to tell one person that she was worthless. After the blessings came the dances, traditional dances that celebrated their ancestors. Pairs formed on the dance floor. Perfect silver bodies moved in perfect patterns. No one asked Lyra to dance. She stood alone at the edge of the room, watching with empty eyes. Made a decision. He walked across the hall. Every step seemed louder than the last, turned to watch him. Whispers followed him like shadows. He heard words he did not understand, but he understood the tone. Shock, disgust, confusion. He reached Lyra. She looked up at him with wide eyes. "What are you doing?" she whispered urgently. "You should not be here, my brother." "May I have this dance?" asked. The whispers stopped. The entire hall went silent. Lyra stared at him. "You do not know our dances." "I know. I will probably step on your feet, but I am asking anyway. If you dance with me, everyone will see. Everyone will talk. My brother will." "I know," held out his hand. "Dance with me, Lyra." She looked at his hand. Such a simple thing. 5 fingers, brown skin, a few calluses from his work. Not silver, not perfect, just human. Tears formed in her eyes. "They will never forgive you," she said. "I do not need their forgiveness." Slowly, like she was moving through a dream, Lyra reached out and took his hand. The hall erupted. Nobles gasped. Some turned away in disgust. Prince stepped forward, his perfect face twisted with rage. Guards started moving toward them, but did not let go of Lyra's hand. He led her onto the dance floor. "I do not know the steps," he admitted. "Follow me," she said softly. They danced, badly, stepped on her feet twice. He turned the wrong way. He moved when he should have been still, but they danced. Lyra guided him gently. Her hands were soft and cool in his. Her silver eyes were bright with tears that would not fall. Around them, the hall watched in horror. "Why?" Lyra asked as they moved together. "Why would you do this for me?" "Because you deserve to dance," said simply. "Everyone deserves to dance." "But the cost?" "Some things are worth the cost." The music continued, but no other couples joined the floor. They danced alone in a sea of silver hostility. Could feel the hatred pressing against him like a physical force. He did not care. For these few minutes, Lyra was not invisible. She was not ignored. She was not treated like a mistake. She was a princess dancing at a ball. When the music finally ended, guards surrounded them immediately. Was grabbed by strong silver hands and pulled away from Lyra. "You have violated our sacred ceremony," a guard said coldly. "You will come with us." Did not resist. He looked at Lyra one last time. She was standing still, her hand still raised from where he had been holding it. Her face was wet with tears now, but she was not crying from sadness. She was crying because, for the first time in her life, someone had chosen her. "Thank you," she whispered. Then the guards took away. They brought him to a cold room and left him there. Hours passed, sat on a hard metal bench and waited. He thought about what he had done. He thought about the consequences. He did not regret it. Eventually, the door opened. Walked in, his face tired and worried. "Do you know how many calls I had to make to find you?" said, sitting down across from. "The wanted you imprisoned. Some of them wanted worse. I figured. The station diplomats are working on it. They might be able to get you released without charges if you apologize publicly." "Apologize?" "Yes, say you made a mistake. Say you did not understand culture. Say you are sorry for disrespecting their ceremony." Was quiet for a long moment. "No," he said. Closed his eyes. "Please, this is serious." "I know it is serious, but I am not sorry. I treated a person like a person. If that is a crime, then their laws are wrong. Being right does not matter if you are dead." "Maybe, but I would rather be dead and right than alive and wrong." Stared at him for a long time. Then surprisingly he smiled, a small, sad smile. "You stubborn fool," said softly. "You good, stubborn fool." Somewhere else on the station, in her quarters on the flagship, Princess Lyra was also being confined. Guards stood outside her door. Her brother's voice echoed through the walls, shouting about shame and disgrace. But Lyra was not listening. She was sitting by her window, looking at the stars. She was touching the hand that it held. And she was making a decision. For 26 years she had accepted her place. She had believed what they told her, that she was broken, worthless, a mistake. She had lived in shadows because she thought she deserved shadows. But now she was not so sure. A simple human had crossed a hall full of enemies just to dance with her. He had risked everything just to make her feel seen. If he could be that brave for her, maybe she could be brave for herself. For the first time in her life, Princess Lyra was not just sad. She was angry. And she was going to do something about it. 3 days sat in that cold room. They brought him food and water, but no one spoke to him. He did not know what was happening outside. He did not know if Lyra was safe. He did not know if he would ever leave this room again. On the 3rd day, came to see him. She looked tired. Her eyes were red like she had not slept well. When she saw him through the small window in the door, she pressed her hand against the glass. "You idiot," she said softly. "You wonderful idiot." "Hello to you too," said, trying to smile. "The want you charged with cultural crimes. They are demanding punishment. The station diplomats are trying to negotiate, but," she shook her head, "it does not look good." "I understand." "Do you? You could spend years in a prison. Do you understand what that means?" Was quiet. Yes, he understood. Prisons were famous throughout the galaxy. Cold, isolated, designed to break the spirit. "I still do not regret it," he said. Made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "I know you do not. That is what makes you so frustrating." She wiped her eyes. "The princess has been confined too. No one knows what will happen to her." Felt his heart squeeze. "Is she okay?" "I do not know. Nobody knows anything. They are keeping everything quiet." After left, sat in the dark and thought about Lyra. He hoped she was not afraid. He hoped she knew that what happened was not her fault. He hoped she would not blame herself. He hoped he had not made things worse for her. Meanwhile, on the flagship, Lyra was making her move. She had not eaten for 2 days. She had not slept. She had spent every hour thinking, planning, gathering her courage. Being confined to her quarters was nothing new. She had been confined her whole life, but this time was different. This time, she had something to fight for. She used her authority as a princess, the same authority that her family always ignored, to demand an audience with the High Matron. It was her right by law. They could not refuse. After many hours, the guards finally came to bring her. The High Matron Vila waited in her private chambers. The room was filled with crystal sculptures and ancient artifacts. Cold light came from nowhere and everywhere at once. Vila was old, so old that her silver skin had turned gray. Her eyes were clouded but still sharp. She had ruled the empire for over 200 years. She had seen wars, disasters, and changes that most could not imagine. She sat in a chair made of frozen light and watched as Lyra entered. "Granddaughter," Vila said, her voice was like wind through dry leaves, "you requested this meeting." Lyra stood before her. She did not bow. For the first time in her life, she did not bow. "I did," Lyra said. Her voice was steady, even though her heart was racing. "You have caused great embarrassment to our family. That human showed me more respect in one evening than my family has shown me in 26 years." Silence fell over the room. The guards shifted uncomfortably. No one spoke to the High Matron this way. Vila's clouded eyes narrowed. "You dare interrupt me?" "Yes, I dare." Lyra felt strength flowing through her, strange strength. Borrowed strength, maybe, from a kind human who had given it to her. "I dare because I have nothing left to lose. You have already taken everything from me. My dignity, my happiness, my chance at a real life. What more can you do?" Vila was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "Speak then. Say what you came to say." Lyra took a deep breath. "You taught us that perfection is strength," she began. "That flaws make us weak. That anything impure must be hidden or destroyed. But look at us now. Look at our empire." She stepped forward. "We have no real allies. Other species do not trust us. They fear us, yes, but they do not respect us. They think we are cold and cruel and empty, and they are right." "How dare you?" "I dare because it is true," Lyra's voice rose. "I have watched our people at this summit. I have seen how others look at us. They are disgusted by us, not because we are powerful, but because we have no compassion, no warmth, no humanity." She almost laughed at that word. Humanity, a human word for a human quality. "The one person in this entire galaxy who showed me kindness," Lyra continued, he was human. A species you call primitive, a species you think is beneath us. But he did something that no has ever done for me. He treated me like I was worth something." Tears ran down her silver cheeks, but she did not wipe them away. "What is more defective, grandmother, my face or our hearts?" The question hung in the air like a frozen star. The guards waited for the High Matron's fury. They waited for her to call for punishment. They waited for her to destroy this foolish girl who dared to challenge her. But the fury did not come. Instead, something strange happened. High Matron Vila closed her clouded eyes. Her ancient face, always so hard and cold, seemed to soften just a little. "I have waited 60 years for someone in this family to say that," she said quietly. Lyra stared at her grandmother. "What?" Vila opened her eyes. There was something there that Lyra had never seen before. Sadness. Deep, old sadness. "Do you think I do not know what we have become?" Vila asked. "Do you think I have not seen our empire rotting from the inside? I have watched for 200 years as we pushed away anyone who was different, as we destroyed our own children for being less than perfect, as we became monsters in our quest for perfection." She stood slowly, her old bones creaking. "I was not born perfect either, child." Lyra's breath caught in her throat. "What?" Vila moved her silver hair aside. There, hidden behind her ear, was a small mark, a flaw in her silver skin. "When I was young, they wanted to kill me for this, but my mother hid me, protected me. She taught me to hide who I was, and when I became powerful, I was too afraid to change things, too afraid to admit what I was." She looked at Lyra with something like shame. "I watched them treat you like nothing. I told myself it was for the good of the empire. I told myself lies. But the truth is, I was a coward. I was afraid that if I helped you, everyone would discover my own secret." Tears fell from the old woman's clouded eyes. "I am sorry, child. I am so sorry." Lyra did not know what to say. Her whole world was breaking apart and reforming into something new. "What do we do now?" she whispered. Vila stood. For a moment, she looked like the powerful ruler she had once been. "Now," she said, "we change. It will not be easy, it will not be fast, but it will happen, starting today. And the human. He will be released, without charges, without conditions." Vila looked at her granddaughter with something like pride. "And you, Lyra, will be given a choice. For the first time in your life, you will choose your own path." Lyra felt like she was flying. Like the gravity that had held her down for 26 years had suddenly disappeared. "What choice?" she asked. "That," Vila said, "you will see soon enough." In his cold cell, did not know that everything was about to change. He sat in the dark, thinking about home, thinking about his mother's cooking, thinking about whether he would ever see the stars again. He did not know that a princess had fought for him. He did not know that an empire was beginning to crack. He did not know that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness could move mountains. But he would learn. They would all learn.